Thanks.
You feeling okay?
Of course I'm feeling okay. I love that this is the only thing of importance I'll ever do for the rest of my life, I snapped. He looked, understandably, like, whoa, where did that come from? It was a good thing I'd lost Mom somewhere back there.
But most people never do anything important, he said. You're the luckiest person in Istim. I mean, you've seen the whole kingdom, and most of us never even leave the gates.
Yeah, exactly, I said, letting my mind briefly wander over all the things I'd seen. The towers of the Temple of Stones, the beautifully painted, frosting castle of Rungenhold, the markets and shops in the capital with all the goods fresh off the ships from around the world. The warriors of Geerman, which was now under siege, according to the paper. I wanted to cry when I read that. I'd seen the Black Army marching down streets. I'd seen monsters attacking our caravan. Percival was looking at me like I was crazy. No one in town was going to offer me any sympathy, because no one in town had seen any of these things, except Mr. Argrave, the former soldier who had quietly settled here at the same time I returned. And he was, of course, a weird hermit who pretty much stuck to his shack in the north corner of town until he needed groceries. He bought our garden produce from me sometimes. He had an intense, unsettling gaze under his hood. It wasn't like I would go pay him a visit to reminisce on our travels.
Well,
Percival laughed uncomfortably.
You'd better go before they run backstage and drag you out.
Yeah. I walked out to a cheering crowd of 300 people or so. That was most of the population of Istim. It was obvious why I meant something to them. They were just farmers and shopkeepers, struggling to eke out a living in this small town so close to the cavern's gate, hemmed in by the tall stone walls that kept out the monsters. Even from the stage, the walls loomed around me, although the effect was lessened slightly by the town being built on a hillside. When I walked out, I couldn't help but get swept up in the energy that reminded me of that year when I had traveled the world. Every year, girls of the realm competed to join one of the 4 singing and dancing troupes that toured the land in armored caravans. You had to be at least 16, but no older than 20 to compete. Girls dreamed of the day the troops came to their town because recruiters came with them. The state sponsored the troops and made sure they came to every tiny town at least once every 4 years. They were the most excitement a town was going to get. It didn't used to be like this, I knew. A century or 2 ago, during the era of elders, our world was very different. The gate to the realm of the monsters, in the northern caverns, was protected by the Priestess and her 4 guardians. They prevented monsters from crossing through the gate. It was safe to travel between towns just riding a horse. You didn't need guards armed to the teeth and armored carriages, and so towns could keep their gates open during the day, and all sorts of performers and festivals traveled the world. More goods were available too, and they were cheaper. Back then, girls hoped to be chosen as the priestess, not a performer. But priestesses only came along every 30 years or so, and their fate was written in the stars, not chosen by a capital-appointed committee. The old days sounded amazing to me, but even the most withered crone in the village couldn't remember it at this point. I had never known anything but a world full of monsters, so when I was chosen for the Strawberry Girls, I felt like the luckiest girl in the world. I didn't think about the fact that new girls were selected every year, and what happens to the old ones then? Well, you just go home, back to your boring old life in whatever boring old town you came from, and for the rest of your life, you're known as a girl who got to do something once. In my case, I came home to a little cottage with a vegetable garden, some chickens, and milking goats. Our growing season was short this far north. We ate a lot of cabbage and root vegetables. One of the big events of the year in Istim was a rock-tossing competition.